Double time?
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. My name is Emery Wolf. Joining me is Nick Lamb. And this is, like it says on the screen, Just Two Camera Guys, a show where we're going to talk all things camera. Nick.
Whoa.
It's been a bit since we've gotten together. How's things been going?
Good. Is that double time? The intro? Whoa.
Yeah, it was something.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know what. Little jazz. I made it up a while ago, but we've only done like 3 shows with it or something. It hasn't been very many.
I'm going to have to turn on some lights eventually. I'm using the old giant softbox in the sky right now.
Oh, yeah. What's you're using a different camera too. What do you got?
Yeah, I got the Sony ZV-1, I believe it's called. It's the vlogging camera that everybody talks about.
It's it looks a little bit different, a lot more contrast and a little more magenta than like what mine's got going on.
I'm not exactly proficient with Sony's yet, so I actually don't know how to change it really quick. So I'll have to look that one up in the menu later.
That is a sad camera guy story.
If it was a Canon, it would already be done. But
they're just cameras, Nick. They all work the same.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's jump into some of the things we've got to discuss.
Yeah.
I kind of prefaced it in the post there. We've got some hard drive stuff we want to go through. Some new gear that Peter McKinon put out. I'll have your thoughts on that, Nick. I know you haven't seen any of this, but we'll run through that, as well as a few other things if we get time to get to it. So the first thing I'm going to add to our stream here is drive stats.
When should I tell you? While I was thinking about that camera, do you know how I ended up with this Sony ZV-1?
No. Do you want to talk about the Sony or do you want to talk about drive stats?
Real quick. I just want to talk about the Sony.
Okay, let's do it.
So we had the DJI action camera. Are you familiar with that camera? Ruth did a little review on it on her show a while ago. But she took the camera into a pool because it said it was waterproof, but it was not waterproof. Water resistant maybe, but it stopped working. And she likes vlogging and stuff, so I did some research. This seemed to be the vlogging camera to get, but I'm not sure if you know this, Emery, but when you're 9 years old, you don't have the same capacity for learning different cameras as you do when you're older. And me not being able to change the color profile kind of shows that it's not the easiest camera in the world. So we've actually
just gonna say that capacity to learn a new camera. Like, are you sure it stops at 9, Nick?
Yeah,
does it carry right through to 40?
So we'd used it for a bit, and the image quality was actually quite nice. You get some nice images off it and stuff, but it just wasn't working. Like, she just never used it. With the DJI action camera, you basically turn it on, you start recording, it's all good. There's really the only settings are photo or video, time lapse, and you just go here. There's just so many menus, there's so many buttons. It kind of reminds me of like pre-iPhone era kind of stuff where it's just menu after menu after menu, which is actually probably how Canon is, but we get used to it.
Man, you go anywhere and they will tell you Sony is complicated in their menu system and Canon is easier. With that said, Sony's actually upgraded their menu system lately. I'm not too sure, probably not on that camera, but I know like on their other sort of like flagship cameras they have, and everyone's talked about how much better they are.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I found I went on Kijiji and I found another DJI action camera somebody was selling. And so I kind of scooped that up. And now she's got the DJI action camera again. And I'm just deciding if I want to sell this Sony or hang on to it. I don't really know what I'd use it for. Maybe just try vlogging or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, and that's what so they say it's basically the perfect vlogging camera because it's small, it's lightweight, it's portable, the quality of it's quite good. Again, I've already noticed the magenta in it here just looking at you.
And I think that's
I thought
a me
Sony
problem
was always
right now, not a camera problem.
Although mine's having a focus issue.
This is kind of neat on this camera. You can see here, I'm going to push the button on it now. It's a really cool thing. So I hit that and it puts the background. So this one here is clear. So the background is like, and then now it's got the blur the background button.
A little bit of blur. Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, vloggers, right? The other thing too that I would like to address, maybe Nick, you're talking about keeping this camera. What is this camera worth? How much did it cost?
$1,000.
Yeah, and you bought it for your 9-year-old?
Well, I did. This is how I am. I'm not afraid to use stuff, so I did buy it used. I could look up. I'd have to look up in the budget to see exactly what I paid for it, but I thought it was still around $6 or $7 that I paid for it.
Yeah, but it is $1,000 camera, and you're using it for your kid, or now you're trying to justify using it for yourself. Maybe something to think about if you're gonna get rid of it or not. Just throwing that out there.
It should probably get rid of. And the thing is if I take a year to decide that, then it's for $400 camera all of a sudden. So
yeah. One other thing, I guess. Actually, there's no other thing. I don't want to talk about this camera. You have derailed your own topic, Nick. So I want to get back.
That's an interesting camera, though. I do kind of like it. It's the screen is cool because right now I can see the screen on the side. I'm not sure how my eye line looks there.
That's like all cameras now. You just flip the little thingy out.
Yeah, but the mic, the onboard mic's pretty decent on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Nick, enough. You were so adamant before the show that we were going to talk about these hard drives, and then just boom. No, let's talk about this $1,000 camera we're spent on. Anyways, getting into this, both of us use Backblaze. So this came into our email. And there's just a bunch of stats that they released on hard drives. Was there something specific you wanted to go over?
I actually like their categorization of all this. If you go into it, you can tell. So they basically break it down. I like the detail. They'll tell you the manufacturer, whether it's a Seagate, a Toshiba, WDC. I think they got some other types of drives in there somewhere.
I don't know what these HGST ones are, honestly.
No, I don't know that either. But then they go into the model number, the drive size, and then they show how many drives they have. And some of these drives, the first one, the HGST, it's a 4 terabyte. They got 3,664. And then you go down to some of these other ones, and the Seagate, the 12 terabyte, they've got 20,033 of them. So they're using a substantial number of drives. And then they'll say how many days this drive has been in operation. And it does say in the listing that these are 24-hour drives. So they're not just using them like we would use a hard drive where they shut down and turn back on. These are 24-hour drives. And then they go into the failure rate of how many.
Just, I want to clarify some stuff. So Backblaze is essentially an online or a cloud backup system that we both use. So all our stuff uploads to them. And these are the drives that they use to back up our stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it anyway.
I didn't really read it. Classic Nick and everything. I didn't read what Nick sent me, and nor did he read what I sent him.
But the cool thing is, so if you go in here, then they've got an AFR percentage. And if you scroll down in the document, AFR is the annualized failure rate, which is applied to the selected cohort of drives. So basically they're saying that out of that drives, that's the number of percentage of failures that they'll expect to get every year, I believe. That would be annualized, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got, I love this because they go into their confidence interval and delta. Now I need to go and reread what delta meant because I cannot remember that. I don't see it listed here. Anyways, this is fascinating because this, like me and you could get a drive and go, it crashed, that drive sucks. but one drive or 10 drives that we have isn't going to really tell you much. But here, if you're purchasing a drive and you cross-reference it with this list, you're going to get a really good numbers on how reliable that drive is and how many years they've used it, how reliable it's been over the years. They're talking about some of their drives are going to start phasing out. They've had some drives that they've used 24 hours a day for over 7 years, and now they're starting to notice I think it was a 3 to 5% failure rate amongst them, so they're thinking it's time to get rid of them now. But
yeah, actually, from what I was reading and what I had seen, it seemed like two things. One, the larger hard drives. So it seemed like typically around that 8 to 10 terabyte or even 12 had higher fail rates on them, which seemed weird to me. Not sure why that is. I guess just storing more data does it. I don't know. Heats them up. I don't know what it is. The other thing too, that percentage is really low. Now, to put that in perspective, these are like, a lot of these will be like enterprise kind of drive systems. They're not all enterprise. They don't use all of that, but a lot of them, and actually the consumer ones seem to outpace the enterprise ones just slightly. But they're not drives like on my desktop right now. I have a Western Digital QuickBook or whatever it's called, little external hard drive.
Yeah.
I still feel like that stuff though kind of relates to that. And the other thing, they were getting about 5 years out of their drives before things started to decline. It wasn't until that 6th year, like you'd pointed out, where things started like, oh, all of a sudden, we went from a 1% fail to a 3%. But it gives me some confidence actually, like in my drives I currently have.
Yeah, because we're not putting the kind of hours that they're putting onto these drives. We're not even close. And even if we did run a drive 24 hours a day for 7 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, even if I got 5 years plus out of this little Western Digital book, I'll be happy with that, right? I think it cost me like $180, and then I sold actually right here. I sold a bunch of hard drives that came out of the old Drobo. This one I still have, if it'll focus on it. I don't know if you can read it. It's a 1 terabyte. Apparently that's too small and nobody wants it anymore. So I'll probably just destroy this one because I can't sell it.
Oh, what was the smallest drive you could sell?
2 terabytes was the only one people even.
What was the price on that?
I don't even remember. $60 maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyways, I sold those drives, made enough to pay for this thing, so it didn't even cost me. But again, if I get 5 years out of it, I think I'm laughing. And then 2, when I do actually eventually replace my Drobo, it'll probably be replaced with something like that, and it'll probably be when the Drobo dies. Which, is that something else you want to talk about, Drobo?
Yeah. So do you remember when we were talking about Drobos last time? Yeah. I love how we both were thinking something's up with Drobo. This is weird. And then you found an article. They had a press release that said we've been experiencing supply chain issues, and that's why we can't get parts, or you couldn't really even buy a Drobo anymore.
Yeah.
And then I think you sent me an article. Do you have that article there?
I don't. I forgot to look it up again. I know Jared Polin did a video on it as well.
Yeah. So I think that my understanding of it is that Drobo is not going to exist anymore. I think they were trying to sell it, but I don't think they had any buyers for it.
They claimed bankruptcy.
So I guess we'll see. Maybe somebody will take it over, but I don't know if they really even want the name at this point.
Can you take it over when they filed for bankruptcy?
Well, you could. So if one of the people that they owed money to was high up on the list, they might be able to basically absorb the company. I'm wondering. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I think it's done. It's defunct. We'll never get support again for these. And when they die, like I said, when it dies, it dies. I'll be getting a new Western Digital thing probably.
Yeah, because I was looking for it was essentially a new motherboard for mine, and I just could not find one anywhere.
And then you went to a QNAS or
I
something
got
like
the
that?
Synology.
Synology?
Yeah. But so that's actually another thing that I didn't think of when I upgraded to the Synology. My Backblaze account doesn't sync with it because now I'm considered an enterprise user. Like I'm a commercial user, no longer a individual.
Because it's more than one drive.
Well, it's the way that my Drobo, for some reason, even though it was the same setup, a RAID setup, was recognized by Backblaze as a single drive, not a RAID drive. But this unit is recognized as a RAID drive, and I think it's considered like corporate. It's on the business side, so I have to pay.
Because it's more than one drive, and that's how they charge, right?
So now, well, before I could back up more than one drive, but it's now I just follow. I'm an enterprise customer now, so because it can recognize that it's a RAID system, and now I need to pay for. Now I've got to use the cloud storage system.
I'm just looking it up. I don't know. We'll see if I can find it or not.
It's interesting because I didn't take that into account. And so now to back up my stuff is going to cost a little bit more. And it's not one price for everything. Now I pay per, I don't know how they break it down, gigabyte or whatever they break it down to. So if you go into B2 cloud storage, that's what I need to sign up for now. So now they're considering me a business customer. Yeah, and see how they've got the QNAP and Synology's in there somehow. But now I'm one of their enterprise customers.
I'm trying to see like what the actual difference is.
Because it's no longer considered a computer, it's basically considered a network.
Oh, because it's a network. So the Drobo was connected via mine's connected through Lightning or USB-C, and yours is now connected through a network cable.
Yeah.
So it is a network. That's why.
And I was hoping that they wouldn't recognize the difference. I tried to find some workarounds. It just sounds like once you go to the network drive, you have to start paying network fees. So
interesting. Let's move on to the next thing here, Nick. Peter McKinnon. I'm going to see if the sound comes through. Sounds like sound's coming through.
I can't hear it.
We'll turn it down. Anyways, Peter McKinnon's released a new product, which let's skip ahead and actually get to his product in the video.
Okay. Can you chat for a second? I'm just going to go put my daughter to bed here. I'll be right back.
Classic. Nick is parenting on his own tonight, which is good fun. While we watch this Google ad, that's pretty sweet. I think that's really funny that Janice isn't there and Nick is just a mess and trying to do too many things at once, because that's very typical of Nick. Welcome back, Nick.
Hey, is that bad with the light on? Is it better before?
Fine. I'm not even going to worry about it, Nick. I don't care.
Okay.
So his new product is a tool. So he goes through all his packaging, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, and it's a camera tool, which is going to end up having some, a plate screwdriver, some other screwdrivers and stuff. And it's sort of like switch blades out, and then it stays in the center. He's pretty jazzed about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to pause that. I'm going to actually go to here where you can see his camera tool. So that makes sense. It's basically just got a bunch of tools in one.
I think it's kind of like that Kickstarter you had. It's pretty similar.
Yeah. Is this something you would use?
Well, yes, but I probably wouldn't. So when I was a camera assistant, I always had a multi-tool. And I'd either had a Gerber or a Leatherman, depending on. I had both in my kit. Just whatever one I didn't have lost at the time was the one that I would use. That one maybe. I like how beefy that screwdriver is, because that was the problem with all the Leatherman and Gerber, is you always need to have a thicker screwdriver to go into the back of the plate. But I don't see any pliers on that. That's a problem when you're camera assisting.
Yeah, or even so now McKinon works with like all the same cameras that we would work with, not a film set, right?
Yeah.
Like,
If
so you
you're
don't need that many things. So just like looking at this picture here, so there's a standard Phillips, which I don't even know what uses Phillips anymore on my camera stuff. Your
I would want an Allen key, to be honest,
plate.
in that
Here's
spot.
your Allens right here.
Okay,
now,
so he does have Allens.
Yeah, now what you can do, this is a magnet in here, so you can magnetize these things on there. So you've got four that sit within there, plus a whole pack. So you can sort of mix and match like what you need on those things. And that's sort of his big selling point.
Card there that he's got?
That is a little SD slot in it as well.
I like that.
Here's the thing. Do you know what? And I should have brought it out, Nick, but I've got like a little tool from, I think it's Small Tools or what is that the
I think you kickstarted it, didn't you?
I didn't kickstart it, but it's my tool is like more than what I need. On my key set, I also have a plate screwdriver thing as well that was custom made for me by Tony Geruzzi here, a guy who just he sharpens nice, keen edge sharpening, if anybody's into that.
But I like that tool. I'm a sucker for Peter McKinnon. I know that some of the people in our space kind of drag on McKinnon and say that, you know, he's not doing anything that they can't do, but he's so good at what he does. I really like Peter McKinnon.
He is, but this tool is like a downfall for me. So here's the other thing. It's $95.
That's hard, but I get why he's charging $95, right? Because
they've put some design into it. They've put some time. I'm sure it's a good tool.
I bet you that he's using high enough quality parts that his cost is probably $25.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Here's the crazier part, Nick. It's already sold out.
Well, that's Peter McKinnon. He's a marketing. He's borderline marketing genius, and he would have set it up so that it would sell out, so that next time you'll buy it right away, so that it'll be sold out again. I think that's on purpose. Even if he was,
sorry, go ahead.
Even if I wouldn't be surprised if he had 4,000 more of them and he just said they're sold out, and then he's going to come back in a month and say they're back in stock or something.
Yeah. Is Janice home now?
No. That's Ruth. She's just grabbing a snack.
Well, no, I seen her pop in. I seen her whole face.
Did Ruth pop her face in?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Setting up a picnic table.
Anyways, you know, I'm a Peter McKinnon fan. I
think me and you both are some of the bigger
Peter I have McKinnon his backpack, right? And I bought it from the Kickstarter thing as well. And I bought his other little thing that was like too much that I ended up selling. And I've considered his other backpack. But this thing, just for $95, does not seem worth it. And I would keep my small rig thing any day of the week past it. And I'm the same as you. I've actually have other little tools in my camera bag already. So this is worth nothing to me.
You know what this would, I could see me asking for this for Christmas.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's like $100. It's in that sweet spot where it's basically would be a nice Christmas present from my wife or something like that.
It's too bad Janice doesn't watch the show.
Yeah, she'll never find it. But honestly, it's that SD card slot that's basically got me sold on it.
Yeah, but I got an SD card holder thing that holds all my SDs, not just
Although
one.
The thing is I would never want to put an exposed SD card in it, because if that thing's going in my pocket, I don't want an exposed SD card in my pocket and not in my bag.
Yeah.
So
the other thing, while I'm on this website here, Nick, as well, have you ever seen these?
No.
So basically, they're stickers to put on your end cap of your lenses to tell you what lens they are.
Yeah.
Right. So you're 20 to 240 or whatever, 28 to 70, whatever you got, stick it on there. But like, why wouldn't you make your own custom ones with your own signature? Like, who is buying Peter McKinnon's signature to put on their lens caps? It seems so ludicrous to me.
I've got, have you seen my lens caps?
No.
What I like to do is I'll put the P-Touch machine. I still use a P-Touch machine back from my camera assisting days. So I'll P-Touch a little label that says 100 or 50 or whatever the lens is. And then when I lose my cap, then I have to order a new one.
Yeah. I'm perfectly fine with that, right? But like, why would I put Peter McKinnon's signature on my lenses? It just seems
I'm
weird.
with you there. I'm a big fan, but I'm not that big of a fan.
Yeah.
Like,
and if I really wanted to do it, I could probably spend $25 at like Sticker Mule and get my own that are like black ice.
I would put a Peter McKinnon sticker on my hard shell case. That I would do. And I would pay... Hold on, I gotta see how much our stickers are because I don't want to go over that. Let me just look this up real quick.
I would put a Peter McKinnon sticker on my beer fridge.
Because let's see, how much... You wouldn't put it on your hard shell case?
No.
Okay, we sell our stickers for $3. So I would pay $5 for a Peter McKinnon sticker.
There you have it, Peter McKinnon. Eat your heart out. $5. Nick Lamb has set the bar.
Yeah. Because then if I ever ran into him, he could just sign the sticker, which would be cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the digital printed signature. No. If it's a real signature, $15, I'd actually probably snag that up.
Oh boy. One other thing, just sort of semi Peter McKinnon related, is Canon released some firmware updates.
We should call this the Peter McKinnon fanboy
show
episode or something like that.
It wasn't just him. So this is the list of the updates on the R3. They updated the R5, the R3, and the R6, I believe.
Does this include the R3C or is this just the R3?
Just the R5, I think is what you mean.
Or is it the R5C? Is that the...
It's the R5C,
one?
but it does not include an update for that as far as I'm aware. Anyways, this is the list on the R3, what was updated. I think it's very similar for the other ones. Peter McKinnon touched on the R3 and R5, the wobble. So I don't know if you've ever seen that in the wide lenses when they're shooting and moving. It's kind of got a weird wobble, but they addressed that wobble. You'll have to watch it.
But they don't have IBS in those cameras. So how are they wobbling?
Yes, they do have IBS and they wobble. But the firmware
in the R5
and the R3.
The R3 has, but the
maybe
R5
even the R6.
But I thought the R5C, that was the...
You got to stop confusing the R5 and the R5C.
Okay.
Two different cameras.
I don't care about the R5. I really only care about the R5C, to be honest.
Apparently. Yeah. So anyways, this is the list of them. They got rid of that wobble. McKinnon covered that. Jared Polin covered this. Whoops. A little too much there, but 195 frames per second in the
And
R3.
Is that at the full raw?
Raw.
And that's at the full resolution, like full frame, the full megabytes, the whole deal?
The whole
195
deal.
frames a second.
Yes.
And brought to you by Western Digital?
So basically what happened, I believe there was a Nikon camera that put in 120 frames per second.
So the Canon, they
firmware
react to everybody.
And one up it, right? Like, because it can do it. With that said, though, too, like, I think that this shows like two problems. Ooh, the other thing they fixed too was the overheating on the R5 with firmware. Go figure. But I think
that's the whole point of the R5C was that it had a bigger heat. Oh my.
But how do you sell cameras, Nick, if you don't hold things back, right? And then the firmware magically fix it. Like
The firmware fixed it? It
yeah,
sounds like
basically
they're just adjusting the setting about how much it can heat up before turning it down, and
right. So instead of stopping it from overheating, it just lets it go. Firmware update
or
done. No, that's
it'll
exactly
use
what it
up
does.
less resources somewhere else.
No,
No?
exactly what it does is just stops that lock. That's it. So I guess that's like part of the problem with a lot of this tech stuff is they're constantly like halting some of those things in order for us to buy things and then slowly release them, which is a sort of a pain, sort of annoying.
Yes.
That's ultimately what they did with this as well. But there's some differences with this one as opposed to, I think, the wobble or the overheating issues. The capability to shoot 195 frames per second still photos is amazing. 120 is amazing.
This is the most incredible firmware update for a 1.2 that I've seen.
Yeah.
I just can't. This is like what Blackmagic used to do with their cameras, where suddenly they'd go from 24 frames to 60 frames on a firmware update.
Yeah. So now, with that said, obviously 195 frames is a lot, but it does show us the potential these cameras have and maybe where that future is going to lie and what we can do with them. And I know I mentioned it to you, like maybe it's just a matter we're shooting video all the time and it's only still frames we're taking from video is
So-
the end result. But
how soon till we can just have an actual full Canon RAW image, edit that image in Lightroom for video? That's what I would love to do. Could you imagine that? Use Lightroom, all the Lightroom settings.
I would just assume it would get built into Premiere or something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah,
Where-
I would agree with that. I actually think this example kind of shows us that potential is like almost there.
Yeah.
Now going in, I said there's some caveats to this 195 frames per second thing. Jared Polin did a good video on it, and I didn't actually bring it up, but give me 2 seconds. I'll sort of, I'll have to pause his loud.
So basically what they're saying is they are 3 or 4 years ahead. They're basically showing us the roadmap that they were going to do.
Yeah. And it's nice that Nikon pushed them too, right? Like that's sort of what happens with some of this stuff. So Jared updates his camera. Here is the settings you have to fix on it. So you have to actually turn this high speed thing on, and then you can change your shooting speed. So he ups it to 195, but see this number of shots? He can only shoot 50. So it will only shoot 195 frames per second, but it'll only take 50 photos.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
But the speed is there, right? And I think that's sort of the main part. So then he takes it to a ball game and does some photos with it. So your auto focusing, everything is sort of working properly for him. And then when he actually fires, so his time, actually, here's another thing too. You talk about Jared Polin and his skill, that timing was amazing. The fact that he can shoot something within what's 50 frames in 195 frames per
way
second.
Less than a second. Yeah.
Is like a third of a second.
Quarter of a second. Yeah.
And he's hitting that mark, which I think is pretty impressive. So big shout out to Jared Polin for actually getting that stuff. But
especially when I know he's not like us and going and filming sports games on the big camera.
So did you see this? So this is the hit and then his individual photos. So it's like video, and then he slows it down, right? So it's impressive, and it's got his timing's impressive. What it can do is impressive. again, sports is a great example of where something like this would be used. Oh, and then it writes for some time, right? Because it takes some time to write.
Yeah.
You could see the photos actually collecting up there too, which was kind of funny. So up in here, you'll see this number go up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's wild. That is cool. But it looks better as a slow motion playback than any individual photo almost.
Again, I think it's going to be like those timing things. So like just going to this one and
Yeah.
getting like
Yeah, that's a
that,
great
or
photo.
like, wait, right there, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, it's impressive.
It is
I'm impressed.
impressive. When I see it there, yeah, that's way more impressive now.
Yeah. And yeah, I could even see like birders and stuff using this, like how fast a hummingbird moves and using something like this on a hummingbird or something like that.
Yeah. I remember Jared Polin took his camera. This was a while ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago. He took one of his DSLRs out to a hockey game to show the hockey stuff. Did not look as good. We would not be giving a shout out to Jared Polin's hockey operating abilities.
I don't think he goes out to like hockey that often, but
No, I don't
anyways.
think he does. And it's hard. It would be very, very difficult to just show up at a hockey game and start operating and grabbing some good stuff.
Yeah. While we're talking about Jared, I also want to show you this, Nick. So he basically, it's called This Needs to Be Seen, but it's essentially like his sort of documentary about his time shooting with Bernie Sanders.
I think I've seen this actually.
This just came out August 8th. So yesterday. So you probably haven't.
I saw it different. I must have saw it when he was on the road with Bernie Sanders.
He's talked about it a lot. But anyways, this is that 50-minute long thing of him talking about it. I've only watched 12 minutes. Now, I will say it is very Jared Polin-esque.
I do like him. He's good. He's not as good as McKinon, but he's good.
There's like, I don't know. There's some like arrogance there about it. But the fact that he still did it that's what's kind of impressive about it. And I think as it goes on, like he's talking about his settings and stuff like that too, or why he was doing this here and things like that. So I'm going to watch the whole thing eventually. Like I said, I think it's impressive that, one, he recorded enough stuff and took these photos and all this stuff. So another, big ups to Jared Polin, actually, in my mind. Yeah, moving on. More Canon rumors, Nick, if I don't close everything out. So Canon thinks the camera market...
Teeth and start getting ready for bed, please.
I love it. When does Janice come back?
I don't know.
It's too good. This is parenting at its finest, folks, right here.
Yeah.
It's a good thing your kid's a good kid.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Canon thinks the camera market decline has bottomed out and targeted growth is coming. How do you feel about that statement?
You know what? That's actually probably true. I don't know about growth coming. That seems like a stretch. But if you think about it, who's really buying cameras anymore? I don't know anybody.
Yeah, they sort of talk about that a bit, like with camera phones sort of killing.
Yeah, like my mom was into cameras for a bit. She's out. She gave me her camera the other day to sell. Yeah. She doesn't want it anymore. She's not buying one.
Yeah, here's a big part of it too, is just that this concern of semiconductor capital spending will slow down, yada, yada, yada. But I think those holdups are maybe getting back on track for them, and that's probably why they expect it to come back a little bit more.
Yeah, I just don't see the growth part. That seems very optimistic.
I think it'll grow just because they can, right? So once your chip shortages are done, they can actually sell more stuff. Sell more R5s and R3s, and even R5Cs, Nick.
I would like to get one, but Ruth, you got us to go brush your teeth now, okay?
Next thing on the list, again, B&H Photo. I shouldn't say again. but I do have two B&H things on here. But Netflix approved cameras. Have you ever tried to make something for Netflix?
Tried. Yep.
And how'd it go?
Well, actually, we ended up not. We just ended up doing a release on YouTube. Was the final result.
Yeah. Did you? Here's a question. Did you have a Netflix approved camera?
At the time, I bet I didn't, but I would be pretty sure I do now.
All right. So here are the specs that your camera needs to have in order for you to make something for Netflix. So a true UHD 4K sensor with a minimum of 3840 across. Oh, that's great. My EOS R has that. High quality capture format such as RAW or infrared. That is where mine falls apart. Nick, I don't know if you heard that. 4K. Do you have one that shoots 4K?
I do.
Like actual 4K? Which camera shoots it?
My one C200.
Like your C. I thought that was only 1080. Why did I think that?
No, the C200 is true 4K raw light.
Okay, cool. So you've hit the first one. You've hit the raw one, which is the second one. 16-bit linear or 10-bit log. I'm guessing it's 10-bit log.
I got, if I'm shooting 24 frames, it's 12-bit, and if I'm shooting 60, it's 10-bit.
Capture transfer function. So that's just saying S log or whatever. Capture color.
I can do C log too.
Can you adjust your color science?
I sure can.
I'm guessing this S Gamut 3.
Mine, I've got a preset where I pick C log 2 or C log 3, and then it adjusts that all on its own. So I don't even know what it is.
No looks or corrections baked into the files. I'm not too sure how you would define that, but I feel like
what
your
they're
camera's
saying
probably hitting
is that it has to be a raw format, basically, is what they're saying, and that
that's like what this to this seems to be saying to me.
Essentially, they're all the same thing, is what they're saying. They're based other than the 10-bit, 16-bit, but there's when you're capturing a something raw, it's not going to have it's not going to have the color science. Like, it's not going to have the look baked in.
Yeah.
It will have the color science, but it's not going to have the look baked in.
There you go. Metadata, yours will have that, the C200 again. Daily black balancing of camera sensor. So that is a task you have to do. Avoid spanning
That's
clips.
Really smart.
That is smart. I mean, you should probably be doing that on every shoot you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Black. And again, though, DSLRs don't have a black balance. It's something that is solely into video cameras typically. So something like the C200. And if you don't know what black balance is, it is basically the same thing as white balance, except for your blacks to make blacks actually black. And when you balance both your black and your white, your colors are magically even more better. Weird how that works, eh? Avoid spanning clips. Do you know what that means?
I do.
Does the C200 have a cutoff time, and does it span clips?
Well, not for how they want it set up. So if you're actually recording in the format that they want, there's only one. It's a CFast card in there, and it is something like this. And it's only like you can only put one of these in the camera, so you technically it's impossible to span a clip on it.
Okay, but I was thinking that was even just spanning. So take my camera, the EOS R. Yeah. If I shoot a clip that exceeds 4 gigabytes, it will make a second clip that is 4 gigabytes, but still allow me to shoot for 30 minutes. So in that 30 minutes, it'll create like 4 different span videos.
So that's not necessarily. So what they're saying is that one file is spread out over 2 cards, which sounds like I've never done it, but I'm I'm reading into it that that's a likely cause for corruption amongst the clip, or else I'm guessing that either video editing programs or hard drives have a hard time figuring out the file after, would be my guess.
It also sounds like so single takes spread out on multiple cards, like they don't even want that. So like,
well, I think that's what the span clips is. I think that's what they're saying, that it's a single take that's over 2 cards, because you can set it up on the camera where, at least on my C200 on the SD cards, do you want that to just carry over to the next card? Do you want it to stop recording and you have to start again? Or do you want it redundant where you're recording the same file to both cards?
Yeah. Sure. Extra resolution for anamorphic imaging. Not entirely sure what that means.
I don't know what they're talking
but I'm sure the C200 has it, and use of an aspect
well, I
ratio
don't know.
Or equal to 2 to 1, which you can set up your aspect ratio on your C200, correct?
Yeah, but I wouldn't be using that because I wouldn't be shooting anamorphic, so I don't think it would matter.
Yeah, I think that's only if you're shooting anamorphic. That's it. That would be what that's for. Anyways,
you know what? I'm surprised they didn't put on there color chart. I'm really surprised that they didn't say that.
I feel like they maybe assume that is happening.
They're asking you to black balance.
But there's lots of like color sciencey thingsies in there. Shoot and raw, do your black and whites.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a black and white, you're probably within some sort of color chart somewhere.
Yeah. That's the thing I forget all the time, is I always mean to shoot a chart. It's just hard to remember.
Yeah. Anyways, the C200 seems like that base camera for this, or maybe something like the Blackmagic would be the cheapest thing that you could make. But if you're trying to shoot something for Netflix, those are the marks you got to hit. So hopefully if someone's watching, that helps them out.
The funniest part about all of that is I'm sure that there's documentaries on there where people just shot them in an HD camera.
There's, actually, that's funny you say that, because there's stuff too, like where they've used camera phone stuff.
Yeah.
There was like that Fire documentary, that concert where they used it. I just watched one on Woodstock, which would have been all sorts of like VHS stuff, which was amazing. By the way, the Woodstock documentary, watch it. Woodstock 99.
Oh, how new is that documentary?
I think it just went out to Netflix, but I don't think it's that new. Give me 2 seconds. Let's look it up. It is called Train Wreck Woodstock 99. I thought it was a good little show. I wonder if there's, let's go to IMDb.
Oh, 2022.
Yeah, so it is pretty new.
Wow.
Anyways, I enjoyed it thoroughly because mostly I wanted to go to Woodstock 99.
Did you?
And I did not. And then it turned into a gong show. And then I was like, that still would have been fun to see. My mom would have hated it, but I would have loved it. Just going back to this, I said too, Blackmagic was maybe one of those other ones.
Yeah,
that
I bet
would
you
fit
it
this. But Blackmagic even surpasses that. So they recently upgraded their camera to 6K instead of 4K. So that's where they're sitting at now. Not that that really affects sounds like literally everything else is the same, except 6K.
I think it's
the inner workings of Nick's mind, where we don't hear nothing and only see board games on his screen.
I just gotta put Ruth to bed here real quick. You gotta go. She's got a day camp tomorrow. I'll be right back.
All right. Can you still hear me then, Nick?
I sure can.
That's fantastic. I'm going to move on to the next thing then. I think this is, Nick and I talk about debt and businesses and what you should be doing and stuff all the time. I came across this Forbes article, 6 tips to avoid personal debt when building a new business. And I think this would be very applicable to anyone trying to run a video business. And I think it's just good advice in general. it is extremely hard to operate a business when you start out in debt. That's what I did. Nick, did you start your business in debt?
No.
See, and I did. And I felt like I had to work in order to pay that off. And I paid it all off within 3 years. But like I didn't get ahead. I didn't get anywhere. And that kind of sucked.
Yeah. There. So what was the were they suggesting to not go into debt? Was that their
Yeah. So here are their ways to help you start a business and not incur any personal debt. Now, bit of a preface to this. I think this is already assuming that you have the capital to start a business to begin with, which is probably the thing you should do. And this would help stop you from incurring any more costs as your business grows.
Yeah. Dave Ramsey's got a saying that he wants to get the boat close enough to the dock. And what he's basically saying is if you don't have the money to start it, go get the money.
Yeah.
Like
and I would agree with that, or save until you have it.
Yeah, that's point. What I'd be like, go deliver pizzas or whatever until you can afford the camera and then do it, or borrow one when you first start if you have to.
Yeah. Like I borrowed stuff from Nick. Anyways, their first thing, focus on getting paying clients in the door first. I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer. Basically, cash in your pocket is going to work out good for you. That's kind of what I did when I started out. Like, cash was king. I would do almost anything for any amount of money as long as it was money, which, good or bad, I don't know. Prove your offer. So do you understand that by just that saying?
No.
Basically, what it's saying is, it's this last line, right? If you're trying to sell an offer that people don't need, they're not going to buy it. So prove to them that what you're selling is going to work.
Yeah.
Invest your profits, which I certainly did not do. That would have been smart. I wish I would have been smarter about investing in general.
I feel like when I first started, I invested too much profits into my business.
You actually invested the...
Yeah, okay, I think I spent too much money on it instead of taking... I wasn't making... too much money was going back into buying like new cameras and new stuff and all of that. Oddly enough, I haven't... The only cameras I bought lately are the ones, those two for Ruth. And I don't think when did the C200 come out? 2018, 2017, something like that. I haven't bought one since.
Seeing what I did is I took my profits to pay off the loan. So I didn't get to reinvest in what I was doing, which didn't help. So then I just had to like work my ass off even harder in order to try and get more paying clients.
Yeah. But you were working another job at the time too, weren't you?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. But still, that probably even made it worse too, right? Because I was working like 24/7.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So keep going with the list.
Hire a team when you have 3 to 6 months of their salary in cash reserves. So if
That's
you grow
brilliant, isn't
to
it?
that point, yeah, that basically goes back to that, your Dave Ramsey quote again about the boat and the dock and everything, getting those sort of ducks in a row, which makes sense. Don't try to do everything at once. I think I failed that horribly. So if you're not a social media wizard, maybe don't do the social media thing, right?
Yeah.
Or pay someone.
Ramp up.
That's those 3 to 6 months of salary, right? Pay someone to do it.
You can literally, you can implement little baby steps with that where you start building it up and then slowly get a little bit more and a little bit more over time. Yeah. The social media stuff is a lot of consistency. So you'd need to pick a number, even if it's only post once a month and just stick with it. and build it up over time.
That's where I would say we talked about Peter McKinnon and Jared Polin a lot in this episode, but like that's where those guys do that stuff really well, right?
That's how they do it.
And they cater to it, right? So they're not doing everything at once. They're focusing their energy on that part, that aspect.
Yeah. And the great thing that Peter McKinnon's able to do is now, and actually he's always kind of done this, is he's basically just telling his life story. He's using his thing as a vlog, and that's where all of his material comes from.
Yep.
The interesting thing about Peter McKinnon is somebody asked him, when do you how often do you think about YouTube? And he just went 9 to 5. like he's just his job, right? Like he's not thinking about it at 5.
Yeah, that's sweet. I kind of like Peter McKinnon even more now. Yeah, don't try and do everything at once. I think that's solid advice. And like I said, if you do need something else and you can afford to pay it, then it'll be worth that money to do it. Don't chase shiny objects. I think this is another thing that I did bad. You know, we kind of talked. So the internet's filled with business coaches, consultants who want your money, you know, Peter McKinnon gear, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Don't chase shiny objects. So, you know, going back to that whole thing where I'm like, I would not buy that tool because my small rig tool was like $20 and is every bit as good.
Yeah. This is really solid advice that for just starting out. The only thing that I would really add to that is to just start, because you'll spend so much time going, oh, what's my business name? Oh, I need a logo. Oh, I need to get the website rolling. Oh, I need to register my corporation. You know what I mean? Like, all of those things are important, but you can just get started working. And then
when you started, so what's your business name again?
Second Sticks Video.
Worst business name in the history of business names. But when you started, what made you pick that?
At the time, if I was to do it over again, I would do Nick Lamb Productions or something silly like that. Nick Lamb Video. But at the time, I was just a little too insecure with that.
That is interesting.
Felt a little bit too showboaty, I guess.
Didn't want to put your name out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have trouble with that still sometimes. So
I just think that's funny because like putting my name out there wasn't even like a thought. It wasn't that I was shy. It was that I was like, who cared about my name?
That's funny. I just gotta go turn the roof light off. Yeah. Anyway, so those were 6 points. Solid advice. I wouldn't mind talking to Nick more about his business when he started and what that was like. For myself, exactly like he said, I took way too long to pick a name. Ended up coming up with Black Ice Media. And then I took way too long to make these fancy business cards. Here. You ever see my business cards, Nick? Yeah. Yeah, they're like shiny, I think.
And see-through.
Like credit
they're
card.
Plastic. Anyways, I took way too long on stupid stuff like that instead of trying to start. I also had an issue trying to get my name because my original name I had to get approved by another photographer in town, which took over a year to get that done. And they eventually said, no, I cannot have the name I want. And so I pivoted to Black Ice, which honestly, probably a better thing anyways.
Yeah, but like none of that stuff matters. At least not that much.
Yeah, right.
We've been talking about Peter McKinnon and Jared Polin. They just use their names. There's nothing fancy about that.
Fro knows, right? Like that's
Fro knows. But that's not. He would have made it either way. I don't think that's a huge.
Yeah, actually, you know, to another point, Jared Polin sells everything. I shoot raw. Like, again, I think that's as bad as Second Sticks. So,
yeah.
But I mean, people buy it, people buy into it, and it works. So I think it just goes to show, like, put your money where those money things actually make sense, and those 6 tips are the ones that follow it. We're wrapping up here, Nick. I've got one more thing I want to ask you about, and I think this one's just pure fun, and good. So I'm gonna throw it up here.
Oh,
the best summer movie year ever. Now, what this was these from the ringer.com, some people making their pitch for their best summer
I love
movie
the Ringer.
Year. Yeah, it's good, right?
Well, I like Bill Simmons. He's a great podcaster.
Yeah. So here was their list, some picks. So 1984, Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Neverending Story, 16 Candles. 1979, Alien, Apocalypse Now, The Muppet Movie, Monty Python's Life of Brian. 2011, which kind of surprised me, but it's actually not that terrible. Bridesmaids, Captain American, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
I disagree with the 20. I think they're just trying to find one there.
That's fair. I feel like we've been going downhill. They've made some other like comments here too, like I forget what year that is. 1982. Sorry. So Conan, Rocky 3, Poltergeist, Star Trek, E.T., Grease.
E.T.? Wow.
Yeah.
What was the Honey I Shrunk the Kids year? Man, that was a great movie.
Honey I Shrunk the Kids. Let's look it up. Oh man.
So I feel like that year
1989.
Yeah. It's one of my earliest memories for movies was
really.
I drove down Main Street, and the theater used to be on Main Street, and the line went way around the block. And I remember like asking my parents, like, "What's that line up for?" And they go, "Oh, Honey I Shrunk the Kids is in the theater."
Yeah. 1982 also had Tron. Have you ever watched Tron?
They redid it.
Yeah. Well, they did like a sequel.
I think I saw the redid version or the sequel.
Tron is an interesting movie. I'm kind of a fan. I feel like it was underrated, but it's interesting. Joanna said 1997, which I'm going to just say Joanna's wrong.
What movies are they saying?
So hers were like Grosse Pointe Blank, Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Come on. Volcano, Austin Powers, which is good. The Fifth Element, which is fantastic. The Lost World of Jurassic Park. Boo.
I don't remember that.
Speed 2 was decent. Batman and Robin. You will never convince me that a Tim Burton based Batman will be good.
Well, Men in Black, but that's still not. No,
like there's some decent ones in there though, for sure, right? And then last one was Neil, 1989.
See, there we go. Where's Honey I Shrunk the Kids on that?
It should be in this list, shouldn't it? Let's see if he put it in. It did not make the list. Nick.
Oh, Uncle Buck though.
Up Major League.
Honey I Shrunk the Kids. It's in there.
Is it really?
Ghostbusters 2, Honey I Shrunk the Kids, Karate Kid Part 3, Lethal Weapon, Weekend at Bernie's, When Harry Met Sally.
It is in there.
License to Kill, Turner and Hooch. Boy, that's actually not a bad year.
On this list, I think this is the year that takes the cake. Like there's Major League. I love
Major League.
Field of Dreams is an amazing show. Pet Sematary is classic if you're into that sort of thing. Roadhouse, like Patrick Swayze, just all dreamy.
Indiana Jones is
The Dead Poets Society. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
That movie's amazing.
This might be 89. That's funny that I stumbled upon 89 by accident.
Yeah. When Harry Met Sally, like that's a classic for everybody's. Weekend at Bernie's. Great movie. The sequel was terrible. Turner and Hooch, young Tom Hanks and a dog. Like, how can you go wrong? I liked
Turner and Hooch. I remember seeing it when I was little.
Yeah, I think it's a great one. And Uncle Buck, John Candy, classic. It's probably up there as like one of the greatest comedies of all time in my mind. Uncle Buck and what was the other one? The Great Outdoors.
You know what's so funny when you go back and watch? I can't remember which one, but I went back and watched the John Candy movie recently. And
Cool Runnings?
Maybe it was.
It's one of the greatest movies ever made.
The picture still looks amazing. It doesn't look
Probably Cool Runnings.
It was an older one. It was like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or something.
yeah.
Was that John Candy? But
do you think that's a testament to film?
I think so.
Because that was like when film started, that sort of, I think I'm going to call it early 90s, maybe mid 90s, where things like really started taking off and looking good on film. Because you got to think like I want to preface what I'm about to say with a question for you. If there was another year on here, can you think of another year that would be like the greatest year of summer movies?
Now, what year was Gone with the Wind made?
I don't know. Well, it would have
Just
been like 70 something, right? I think.
because that's always the movie that everybody always says. Like that was the movie thing. They'd say, we're not making Gone with the Wind. Let's get moving.
Oh, I'm way off. 1939.
39. 70s.
But things were black and white in the 70s, weren't they?
Well, what actually would fascinate me is, and I'm sure this has been done a million times, but to have a modern color, like a modern movie processor that can take the 35 millimeter film that it was shot on, analyze it frame by frame, get rid of all the dust, basically optimize the old film.
Do you like it? Like you like Gone with the Wind?
I don't remember it. I was just so it was my grandpa's favorite movie, and he used to talk about it a lot. Okay. So like I have a memory. I've tried to watch it, but I think it was pretty slow in today's standards. But
well, it's that old style, right? But I will say this about it: I'm not a big fan. However, I can kind of respect like the history, what it pushed forward, the sheer like perfectness of it. Because if you do actually like watch it today, like it's so sharp. Like just the image itself looks so sharp and so clean, which in 1939, that's amazing.
Yeah.
The amount of production into music, right? And the acting and everything about it is really stellar when you think about it. Now, is it as good as a movie made today? No. But that to me is more of like a style or sign of the era and how they told stories back then, right? And I like the quicker pace thing. Maybe it's a sign of me too, right? Like growing up in that, not just a problem with Gone with the Wind, right?
Yeah. So do you know what's so interesting about that? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm playing this movie. Is that I've tried to show movies that I saw as a kid to Ruth, and they're so much slower. They're almost unwatchable to somebody her age. It's so weird.
Yeah. I would blame the 80s for that. Like the 80s were a lot slower of a period. I think the 90s is where things really picked up. The 90s is my favorite era of movies.
But even Home Alone. So Home Alone, I remember watching it as a kid, like tons of action, so much going on. It felt like the perfect movie. I tried to show it to Ruth, and they're just sitting around the house for like 15 minutes before anything happens. Like they're literally eating supper. People are coming to the door. They're just hanging out in the house for 15 minutes.
Yeah. And again, I think that's just like how we've progressed. Although with that said, now we're kind of at a point like where, you almost have to be like told this is the story plot right here, right now. Boom.
Yeah.
Done.
Now it would start they do a little bit at the house, but he'd be beating up bad guys a lot sooner.
Yeah. Or when like I look to movies like something like Die Hard, right? So that was late 80s, early 90s. I think 89 was the first Die Hard. So wait, it's not on the list, I don't think, though.
What?
It's around there. The first Die Hard movie?
It's got to be on that list somewhere.
I don't know what year it is. 88. So I was wrong. Year off. Anyways, the point is like when you watch that and it starts off with essentially an explosion, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And so that's that start of like kicking, like, let's get into this. And this is your first plot point, first frame, first plot point. And that's why I think like Die Hard today, if Die Hard had a little bit better production quality, like it would stand up to any movie today.
Probably could. Yeah, I agree.
Now, with that said, I asked you a year you thought was one of the best. The year
Well,
sorry, go ahead. Do you have a year?
no, I was thinking back to. I'm just trying to think of some of the movies. So there was a year. Remember that year? It was like Dumb and Dumber. I think that Tommy Boy came out. I think that it was like a year of comedy. Do you remember that year?
I'm looking up to see if they're the
It
same
was
year.
93 or something. 94.
94 was Dumb and Dumber. 95 was Tommy Boy.
Okay. Was
But
Black Sheep in 94 then?
Yeah,
It might have
maybe.
been Wayne's World might have snuck in there that year too.
Happy Gilmore was 96.
Okay, never mind. All these ones. There
Wayne's
wasn't a
World
year.
was 92. It's just all blurred
Okay.
together for you.
Yeah, never mind. If I combine 5 of those years, you can get a year of good movies.
There is actually a list on IMDb somewhere of like movies by year and stuff like that too that you can look up, which would also be helpful.
That would be.
But there's 2 years I always say are the greatest years in movie history, at least in my movie history. Because again, I think I'm a bit biased being that 90s kid and I really like that 90s stuff. But 1999 was a pinnacle year in my mind.
Mhm.
That was when the first Matrix came out, which was
Okay, yeah.
pretty revolutionary. That's when Fight Club came out.
Yep.
So a very unique and a movie that was not a sequel or part of this giant schematic MCU type thing, which is what it seems all we get now. It's just MCU.
Yeah.
That is when I can't remember. There's a bunch of other ones that came out then. American Beauty came out then.
Which at the time, it didn't hold up well, but at the time it was a good movie.
Yeah. And then too, like it had a good selection of like other sort of cheesy things like Freddie Prinze Jr., She's All That, right? Which a lot of people liked. I was not.
Wasn't that the Shakespeare movie? Was that the one that was based on the Shakespeare, one of the plays?
I don't know. I've tried deleting it from my memory.
Okay.
But like, so now I'm going to throw off a list of things here, but I think this is a bit to my point. So Girl Interrupted, The Virgin Suicides, which was good. 10 Things I Hate About You, which was good. Go, which was good. The Insider, which was decent. Magnolia, if you were into that, people who like
this
it
is
seem to
99
like
you're
it.
talking about?
Yeah. The Boondock Saints, which
So
is
this
kind
is
of like a
nothing
cult
like
classic.
that 89 though. That 89 list was on another level.
Big Daddy and Deuce Bigelow, Nick. Come on. It's hitting that part. Double Jeopardy, The Blair Witch, Nick, and American Pie. American Pie was like the highest grossing comedy movie of all time.
But the other list,
The Green
can
Mile.
you break that other list back up? Because
bringing it up.
So this one here, we're talking Major League, Field of Dreams, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, Dead Poets Society, Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, I don't think that other list is on this level.
But like, so Field of Dreams. So one of the ones in 99 is The Green Mile. I think The Green Mile is better than Field of Dreams. I think The Matrix and Fight Club are better than almost anything on this list.
You can't compare.
Why
well, I
not?
guess you can. Yeah, never mind.
American Pie, better than any of the comedies on here. I'm sure there was like a good horror
better
movie.
Than Major League? I don't know about that.
Varsity Blues. It's another one that was really good. The Mummy, a lot of people like that, I guess. Entrapment, I thought was good. Office Space, Nick, cult classic.
In 99?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Office Space was pretty good. That's like a cult classic one.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's a lot of movies. I think 99 is a year that is always in my mind as one of the best, but I might actually concede to 89. Why is it on the nines?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm guessing that what the Ringer was saying was that people were going, "Oh, this is the greatest summer movie of all time, like summer 2022 best summer movie year of all time," and they were pushing back, going, "No, just because you're experiencing it now
No, I think they just did it for
doesn't
fun.
make it true."
Kind of like we're doing. I think they just did it
Okay.
for fun. My other year I reference is 2003. Now, which is ironic that the movies I would say in 2003 are not on here. Maybe it's not 2003. But 2003, I thought was when Lord of the Rings ended.
Oh,
The Matrix movies came out. The second and third. Yeah, so 2003 it ended. The Matrix movies came out, which I don't know why they're not showing
2003.
here.
What was the? Did they release one in 2001? Was it the second Lord of the Rings?
The third.
Well, which one? What was the years that they released them?
2001, 2002, and 2003.
Okay, yeah. I can't remember. Yeah, one of the years I went to the midnight showing, and I went in and I saw the previews in like the first 5 minutes, and I woke up right at the end in the battle scene at like 3 in the morning.
So 2003 too is like pivotal in my mind because, like I said, I've discussed a bunch of sequels. There was also X2 that came out, which is the best X-Men movie. There was also, you like how I just like throw that in there, just my opinion. It's also the best. There was also
this is
Bad
start
Boys
though.
2.
This is happening. Like we're already getting into this was when this was. I'm an old man. This was the beginning of the downfall right here.
I agree 100%. And that's sort of what I'm saying. Like 2003 was the last great year, but it was also great because of those sequels. So it took like the originality of the Matrix and it was the sequels for that.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings finally came out. The X2, right, is the thing. Bad Boys 2 came out. But, with that too, there's a lot of other good movies. The Italian Job is a fantastic movie. A lot of people like Holes, kind of a throwback, I think, to like the Stand By Me kind of era. Or
Nothing
ET
wrong with Big
stuff.
Fish. That was a good show.
Yeah, Big Fish was really good, actually.
You know what, though? This is actually sad, and I never pieced this together until just now, seeing X2 and Lord of the Rings on the right beside each other. It might have actually been the Lord of the Rings that made the studios realize that all of those comic book movies could make them insane amounts of money.
Or even X2.
Yeah.
Or like I said, The Matrix 2 and 3, the Bad Boys 2. I think Bad Boys 2 basically changed action movies.
I disagree with, which the Bourne Identity changed action movies, in my opinion.
I hate those movies.
Yeah, but do you know what they did?
Go on.
And they changed them in a good way. They went, okay, we can take one of the top actors and put them in an action movie. We don't need to just get the Jean-Claude Van Damme, the guys that can't, so Sylvester Stallone, the lower level actors that can do the stunts. They can get the higher level actor and get them into the stunts that way. It was a little different approach.
You might be right. I'm going to disagree with you slightly because, again, I would use Die Hard as your...
Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to argue that Bruce Willis can't act. He's a phenomenal actor. So, yeah, yeah, you got me there. I just liked...
Yeah. Looking at some other 2003 old school, Cradle to the Grave, talking about action, Jet Li.
But
Jet Li fits your mold.
Yeah. Well, you just try. There is some good movies, whether it's on the all-time level or not. Now, this was the year I was watching a lot of movies at this time because I've seen almost all these movies.
Yeah.
And if you went to 2023, I will have seen one of them. Well, I saw one movie this year.
Is that because 2023 has not happened yet, Nick?
Oh, yeah. 2022.
Actually, I just watched Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's a good little drama.
With the crawdads thing.
Yeah.
Did you see the Adam Sandler one yet? The
Mm,
basketball one?
yes. I remember it being good, but now I don't remember it with his kid.
No, he's the scout. And he brings the guy from overseas.
Okay, with the tall guy, that's the one. Yeah. It was a good movie.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah. So anyways, some fun. What's your favorite movie of all time? Can you narrow it down?
Yeah. So
yeah, I can.
Well, I don't know if it still would be. I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I used to always say it was my favorite movie. It's the one that it's obviously not my favorite movie because I'm blanking on the title. It's the one that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon wrote, where he goes to Harvard. Well, I know he was a janitor in Harvard, but he was smarter than all the guys. What was that one?
Damn apples. Damn apples.
Yeah. How can it be your favorite movie if you can't even remember the title?
I'm Googling it to see. Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting, yeah. I really liked that movie at the time.
It was a good movie.
I haven't seen it in a while, so it's hard to say right now.
I have a hard time like picking a favorite movie or a favorite thing of that because there's so many. I can tell you the ones I've probably watched the most have been The Crow with Brandon Lee. And, and Cool Runnings. I've watched an insane amount of times.
It's a great show.
It is. It's a feel good movie. You cannot
go wrong with it.
Yeah, you really can't.
It's really John Candy at his peak. No, I don't even know if he's at his peak then. Because he was more of a straight guy in the movie.
Very anti. I'm going to show this. We have someone watching. Wanda Heron's watching us, and was informing us that it was Good Will Hunting. So at least someone out there knows instead of us two boneheads trying to hash that out and figure it out. Ooh.
Oh, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yes.
Yeah, it is pretty classic. Actually, is that your favorite movie, Wanda? Maybe if you're out there, you can comment again and let us know if you do have a different favorite movie. But all the Indiana
What year
Jones
was Raiders of the Lost Ark? That's going to be an interesting one to look up.
1981.
81.
Yeah, it's a good year, Nick. 81 is a good year. Well, that's the year we were born.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Or Wanda, if you have a year that you think is the best movies year, it'd be interesting. Or if you heard our talk about it for the last little bit.
I've heard some stuff that Raiders of the Lost Ark doesn't hold up culturally anymore, but
I feel like 80% of the movies probably don't.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, Jurassic Park, just for the special effects. Yeah,
absolutely. Actually, so good story about Jurassic Park. First time I went and seen it in Lloydminster at the movie theater there. So me and my brother and a bunch of cousins went out to go and watch it. We took my cousin Mitch, who was 8 years old at the time. And so we're all in there, we're buying the tickets, and the lady's like, "Are you sure he's good?" Looking at Mitch. Mitch is also a pretty small dude to begin with, so he probably looked like he was 5. And we're like, "Yeah, no, he'll be fine, right?" And we got together with our family not too long ago, and somehow it came up. And Mitch is a pretty emotive guy and reacts pretty funny, and he's like, "No, man, I had nightmares of that for weeks after."
It was a scary movie,
especially for an 8-year-old, right? Jurassic Park though, great. I actually feel like one of the fallbacks of the newer Jurassic Parks is not using those like the animatronics and stuff that they used in the originals. There was just something more like lifelike about them that just seemed better to me than all this digital stuff. Yeah. Have you seen the last Jurassic World?
No. I've heard conflicting reports on it.
Yeah,
it's a fun movie if you can put up with it. Like, if you can not take the plot too seriously, it can actually be a fun movie. But then I've heard that technically it's a terrible movie.
I felt like the plot was like the letdown of it, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry, the structure of the movie was not good, but it could be fun if you went into it thinking you could have a fun time.
yeah, I thought it was a fine movie, like good to go watch. I'll probably add it to my collection with the rest of the Jurassic Parks and Worlds, but yeah, definitely not my favorite out of the bunch.
I've never seen The Descendants. I'm sure you have though, Emery. You have?
I don't think I have. I don't remember it anyways. I'm just gonna Google it here and see if I can come up with what it actually is. If I could spell things right.
Yeah, 2000. See, I would have seen the bulk of my movies from 97 to 2005, probably.
Yeah, so The Descendants is 2011.
Oh.
Yeah, I might be trying to look that one up and see if I can't find that. Thank you, Wanda. It does look like a good movie. Yeah. So here's the base gist of it. A land baron tries to reconnect with his two daughters after his wife is seriously injured in a boating accident. That is the quick summary on IMDb. The trailer is playing in the background for me and looks decent too, but I stopped my screen sharing thing, so can't share it. But yeah, The Descendants, I'm going to have to look that up. It's got a 7.3 rating, which is not bad for IMDb.
Yeah, I feel like the ratings have kind of ruined movies for me because I'll look up a movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and if it's got a lower score, I won't watch it. But I used to watch everything, so yeah, it's.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, speaking about ratings and going back to movies, and I know I have mentioned this to you in the past, Nick, and talking about scaring my little cousin Mitch. Have you ever used Common Sense Media?
No.
You know what? I'm gonna bring my share back up, even though it's gonna take a split second here. Window share. There. So this is Common Sense Media. So the website's just commonsensemedia.org. I'm pretty sure they have an app that you can throw on your phone. Do you know what? For an example where you can bring up Google a movie and it'll tell you what it is. So basically it's saying if you're 14 or plus, you could probably get into this movie. Parents are saying 16 plus, kids are saying 14 plus.
That's funny. Kids.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm fine.
A bunch of ratings, positive messages, violence, products, drinking, all this stuff
I like this.
is in here. People can actually review it. You know, what parents say, what kids say. It is a great place to go for this kind of stuff. And for you, Nick, your daughter's 9.
Yeah.
So let's look up Jurassic Park. And 12 and up. Kids are saying 10. So anywhere from 10 to 12, I would say you could probably, you know, if you wanted to show your kid the first time. So she's still a little bit young for it, right?
She gets nightmares a little too easy.
So maybe wait till 12.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I used to get nightmares a little bit easy too. So
yeah, this is something, again, I use this with my kid to a T. Jurassic Park is one of her favorite movies because we probably watched it. I probably split the difference when she was 11.
Probably, yeah.
And she loves the Jurassic Park movies so much that we had to go to the last one together.
And she actually watched it because she would have been 11 in the 2000s, like 2000s. Yeah, 20. When would she have been 11? In the late 2000s. 2010 range.
Yeah. So it was like way after, right?
Yeah. Wow.
That is not the right Star Wars. Anyways, Star Wars was another one I kind of followed to a T, kind of in that same age range. Another one that sort of became one of her favorite ones. So I used it a lot. I recommend it to all the parents. commonsensemedia.org or download the app somewhere. I think it's just good for parents with kids and everything else to have and do and see. So there you have it. Nick, let's wrap
Yeah.
this up. We've been on here way too long, an hour
Yes.
and a half. But we covered a lot of things. Thank you, Wanda, for chiming in with some things. It's always fun when someone's giving us a little extra.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Any parting words for us, Nick?
I guess it's more just a decision on my part. You kind of brought up a good point of should a person have an extra $1,000 camera kicking around? Like if I reversed it. Oh, hold on. What's the? Oh, is that the? Oh no, I'm thinking of a different one. I was thinking of the one where the girl had deaf parents.
No, it's where it's actually a deaf actress. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, going back.
Yeah.
To your
So if I
decision.
reversed, I'm just thinking, yeah. So if I reversed it and I put $600 on the table, would I go buy this camera? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say no sorry needed, Wanda. Hijacking our show is what it's here for.
Yeah.
It's just nice that there is one person hijacking it instead of no person, especially this late at night too. Like I said, we've gone way too late.
That's a good chance for us to catch up.
Yeah, too. Hey, Wanda, by the way, too, I went to a Red Sox game and you weren't there working. It was slightly disappointing, but maybe I should try and make it out to one of these finals if the boys can pull out some wins here. And yeah, we'll maybe see you out on the field.
You know what else we should get? They should arrange it when Hirsch can't make it to one of the games. Wanda comes out.
There was another photographer there. I don't know who it was. Wanda would know his name, I'm sure. The other thing actually I was thinking of was Matt Duguid dropped the CBC and went to Tourism Sask. So big ups to Matt Duguid.
Couldn't see my thumb up. You can just see that.
And there we go. If anybody's watching Regina Thunder this Sunday, Wanda will be out on the field.
Oh,
shooting.
Nice.
What am I doing Sunday? Maybe I should check out a Regina Thunder game.
Very cool.
Cool. Nick, with that, let's wrap it up. I'm going to play the thing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the show, and have a good night to everybody.
Right on. See you later, Emery.
See you, Nick.